Under a taunting Roman sky, Jesus hangs on the cross, a symbol of unbearable agony. A supernatural darkness descends, the sun vanishes, and shadows consume the day. High above, Michael stands sentinel, his armor ablaze, wings spanning like galaxies, as Uriel radiates light against encroaching darkness. From a throne of shadows, Lucifer watches with a cruel smile, convinced of his victory. Jesus descends into Sheol, a realm trembling at his approach. Michael and Uriel follow closely behind, their presence amplifying the divine authority. With divine authority, chains shatter, souls stir as Uriel floods the darkness with ethereal light, and Abraham rises, bathed in glory. At Golgotha, the temple veil violently tears from top to bottom, a seismic event shaking the very foundations of existence. Michael and Uriel bow their heads in solemn respect, their celestial swords lowered in acknowledgement of a power beyond measure. Lucifer's meticulously constructed dark kingdom crumbles, its foundations washed away by an unstoppable surge of divine light. The cross, once a stark emblem of suffering, now radiates as the cornerstone of a divine victory, transforming sorrow into triumph. A profound silence descends, pregnant with the shift of eternity's axis, resonating with awe and the weight of divine victory.
Close your eyes, if you wish, and imagine yourself standing on a quiet hill, far from the noise of the world. The air is warm, tinged with the scent of dust and cedar wood. You're not here to rush or strive, but to rest, to listen, to let a story unfold like a river flowing gently through time. Welcome to Mr. N Bible, where the hidden truths of Scripture come alive, not with clamor, but with whispers of eternity. Tonight, we're stepping into a moment that changed the universe forever, the crucifixion of Jesus. Seen not through the eyes of men, but through the unseen realm where angels stood watch. You've heard the story of the cross before. The dusty hill of Golgotha, the weight of the nails, the cries of a suffering Savior. But what if I told you there was more? What if, above that blood-stained hill, in a realm beyond human sight, two of heaven's mightiest angels, Michael, the warrior, and Uriel, the flame of divine light, stood guard. Their presence a silent thunder in the spiritual world. This is not a tale of violence or chaos, but of divine strategy, of a plan so profound it reshaped eternity. So, settle in, let the weight of the day slip away, and imagine yourself standing at the edge of history, where the veil between earth and heaven grows thin. Let's begin. Daily life immersion. Life in Jerusalem. 33 AD. Imagine yourself walking through the narrow, sun-baked streets of Jerusalem. The year is 33 AD. The air is thick with the scent of olive oil and freshly baked bread, mingling with the tang of sweat from travelers and merchants brushing past you. For the Jewish people, life revolves around the temple, a towering structure of white stone that gleams like a beacon under the relentless sun. Every morning, priests in linen robes move through the crowds, their steps deliberate as they prepare for sacrifices. The scent of dust grows sharper, mixed with something heavier, something metallic. You hear the creak of wooden beams being carried, the low mutter of soldiers, and the occasional sob from a bystander. But to understand what happened on that hill, we must look higher to the unseen war that unfolded in the skies above Golgotha. Let's step into that realm together. The hill comes into view, stark and barren, its rocky surface littered with small stones and patches of dry grass. 3 crosses stand against the sky, their silhouettes stark and unyielding. The crowd is a mix of anger and sorrow, some jeer, their voices harsh like the caw of ravens, while others stand in silence, their faces etched with grief. At the center of it all is a breath, his breath labored, his body bearing the weight of something far greater than wood and iron. This is no ordinary execution. The sky above feels heavier, as if it's holding its breath, and the rhythm of daily life in Jerusalem falters. Families bring their offerings, doves or unblemished lambs, hoping their prayers will reach the heavens. Beyond the dust and the cries, beyond the physical world, a spiritual tension hums like a taut string. The air in that invisible plane is charged, not with the heat of the sun, but with the weight of divine purpose. Angels are present, their forms unseen, but their presence undeniable. The ground may shake with the steps of soldiers, but the heavens tremble with the silence of celestial watchers. This is the rhythm of their lives, not the merchants or the priests, but the angels who stand at the edge of eternity, waiting for a command that will shift the course of history. As you stand on this hill, imagining the dust on your sandals and the weight of the moment, you begin to sense it too. Something is happening here. Something far beyond the cross. Something that will echo through time. The scent of burning wood and roasted meat drifts from the temple courts, a reminder of the covenant between God and his people. Yet, beneath this rhythm of worship, there's an undercurrent of unease. Roman soldiers patrol the streets, their armor clinking softly, their eyes sharp and unyielding. The people glance at them warily, their voices lowering as they pass. To live in Jerusalem is to walk a delicate balance between faith and fear, between the sacred and the shadow of empire. The city hums with life, a constant rhythm of voices haggling over figs. A woman in a faded blue shawl barters for a handful of dates, her voice firm but tired. Nearby, a scribe sits cross-legged, his reed pen scratching across parchment as he records a debt or a prayer. Children dart between stalls, their laughter a fleeting melody in the chaos. The sun climbs higher and the heat presses down, making the linen tunics cling to sweat-dampened skin. Life here is hard, but its familiar cycle of work, worship, and waiting. Waiting for the Messiah, the one promised to deliver them from oppression, to restore the kingdom. Whispers of hope ripple through the crowd, tales of a man from Nazareth who heals the sick and speaks with authority. Some call him a prophet, others a troublemaker. But today, those whispers are drowned out by a darker sound, the shouts of a crowd gathering beyond the city walls. Near a hill called Golgotha, and fish, the clink of Roman coins changing hands, and the distant bleating of lambs being led to the temple. Stone walls rise around you, worn smooth by centuries of hands and sandstorms, their surfaces warm under the midday sun. You hear the soft shuffle of sandals, the occasional bray of a donkey, and the murmur of prayers rising like incense from the faithful. This is Jerusalem, the heart of Judea, a city alive with devotion and tension. Picture yourself standing in the marketplace, where the air buzzes with the chatter of Aramaic, Greek, and Latin. As you follow the crowd, the air shifts. What you cannot see, what no human eye can perceive, is the unseen realm above this hill. This is Jerusalem in 33 AD, a city of stone and spirit, of ordinary lives caught in an extraordinary moment. Biography, event, the unseen war over Calvary. Imagine yourself no longer bound to the dusty hill of Golgotha, but lifted just above it, where the air is not heavy with the scent of earth, but alive with a different kind of energy, vibration that hums through the unseen realm. His body bears the weight of human sin, yet his spirit radiates an authority that no nail can bind. Around him, unseen by the soldiers or the weeping women, two figures stand in the spiritual realm, their presence as steady as the ancient hills. Michael's grip on his sword was steady, his form taut like a lion, poised but restrained. But the crushing burden of every lie, every betrayal, every moment of rebellion since Eden. They had seen centuries pass, empires rise and fall, yet never had they witnessed a moment like this. The cross below is a stark silhouette against the darkened sky, but above, Michael and Uriel stand as pillars of divine purpose. It was a war unseen, a clash of realms where angels stood guard and hell's plans began to unravel. But to understand the full weight of what Michael and Uriel did, we must look closer at the mysteries they guarded, the secrets hidden in the shadows of the cross. They do not speak, do not move, yet their presence is a declaration. This moment is sacred, untouchable, ordained. The rhythm of their lives, the rhythm of heaven itself, beats in time with the heart of the one who hangs on the cross. And as the hours pass, as the darkness lingers, you sense it too, a shift, a turning, a promise that what seems like defeat is, in truth, the beginning of victory. The air in the spiritual realm was thick with expectation, not of chaos, but of order. Every groan from the cross, every shudder of the earth, was a note in a divine symphony, a melody of redemption that echoed beyond the veil. Lucifer's forces, sensing something amiss, began to falter. Their whispers grew hesitant, their shadows retreating from the hill. They could not understand why heaven was so still, why the angels did not descend in fury. But that stillness was the true terror, for it signaled a power far greater than their own, a power that needed no fanfare to conquer. In the spiritual realm, this was visible, tangible, like a shadow coiling around the cross, a weight that made even the angels tremble. Yet Jesus did not falter. His silence was not weakness, but power restrained, a deliberate choice to endure what no other could. Michael, the warrior, felt the tension in his being, his celestial form aching to move, to act, yet bound by the command of the one who hung below. Uriel, the keeper of divine mysteries, saw the scroll of redemption unfolding, its seals breaking one by one as Jesus' sacrifice fulfilled prophecies older than the mountains. His role was not to strike, not yet, but to hold the line, to ensure no force of hell could disrupt the divine transaction unfolding below. Uriel, radiant with the light of revelation, fixed his gaze on Jesus, his presence a beacon in the spiritual darkness. They were not here to fight a physical battle, but to enforce a spiritual covenant. The cross was not a defeat, it was a strategy, a plan etched in the scroll of heaven before time began. Every drop of blood, every labored breath was a step toward a victory no demon could foresee. Michael, the Archangel of war, is a towering figure, his form not of flesh, but of light and fire. His armor shimmering with hues no mortal eye could name. His sword, etched with the sacred names of God, glows faintly, held not in aggression, but in readiness, a silent declaration of divine order. Beside him is Uriel, the flame of God, his presence like a furnace of pure light, his eyes burning with the weight of divine secrets. These are not mere spectators. They are guardians of a moment that will unravel the plans of eternity's greatest enemy. The physical world below is stark. The creak of wooden crosses, the labored breathing of a man in agony, the low murmur of a crowd divided between mockery and mourning. Picture that darkness, not an eclipse, but a heavy, unnatural stillness, as if the world itself held its breath. In the physical realm, the crowd might have thought it a strange omen, a quirk of nature. But in the spiritual realm, this darkness was a battlefield. Lucifer, the fallen one, the serpent who once sang in heaven's courts, watched from a distance his throne of shadows pulsing with anticipation. He believed This was his victory. The seed of the woman, promised to crush his head, hung bleeding, seemingly defeated. The air around him crackled with the glee of demonic forces, their whispers like a cold wind rustling through barren branches. They thought the cross was the end. But here, in the spiritual plane, the scene is far more vivid, far more profound. The sky, darkened at noon, is not merely shadowed by clouds, but cloaked in a supernatural veil. As if the heavens themselves have paused to witness a moment written before the stars were formed. At the center of this moment is Jesus, the man on the cross, but also the eternal Son, the Word made flesh. The Bible tells us that at noon the sun refused to shine, and darkness fell over the land for 3 hours. But Michael and Uriel knew better. Imagine their stillness, their silence, as they stood above the hill. As Jesus hung there, the weight of humanity's sin pressed upon him not just the pain of nails or the sting of thorns. The rhythm of their lives, the angels' lives, was one of obedience, of waiting, of watching. Imagine yourself standing in that unseen realm, feeling the weight of eternity in the air. This was no ordinary execution, no mere moment of suffering. Mystery, the darkened sky, and the spiritual siege. Picture yourself standing once more in that unseen realm, just above the hill of Golgotha, where the air pulses with a rhythm not of this world. Below, the physical scene is heavy with sorrow, the creak of wooden beams, the murmurs of a fractured crowd, the labored breaths of a man pinned to a cross. Imagine that darkness, not as a fleeting shadow, but as a tangible presence, heavy and still, like a mantle of silence draped over Jerusalem. To the people below, it might have seemed an omen, a strange quirk of the heavens that stirred whispers among the priests and unease among the soldiers. In ancient Jewish thought, darkness often signaled the presence of God's judgment or His intervention. Recall the plagues of Egypt, when a darkness so thick it could be felt descended upon the land, a sign of divine power breaking the chains of oppression. Here, at Golgotha, the darkness was different, yet no less profound. The darkness is heavy, but it is not despair. It is the weight of a world being reclaimed, of a covenant being sealed in blood. The air around you feel alive, not with chaos, but with order, with the quiet certainty that every moment of this scene was foretold, every shadow a part of the divine design. The darkness will not last forever. Already, in the spiritual realm, a faint glow begins to stir, a promise of light to come. It was the weight of human sin gathered from every corner of time, pressing upon the Son of God. To understand what Michael and Uriel did next, we must look deeper into the culture of this moment, into the lives of those who stood at the foot of the cross. It was the shadow of a cosmic transaction, where the sins of the world were transferred to the sinless one. In the spiritual realm, this was visibly heavy, writhing shadow that coiled around the cross, a burden no angel could bear, yet one that Jesus carried willingly. But in the unseen realm, where Michael and Uriel stood watch, this darkness was no accident. The darkness is not empty. It is alive with movement, though not the kind that startles or alarms. It is the movement of celestial forces aligning, of angelic hosts holding their breath, of demonic powers shrinking back in confusion. Lucifer, watching from his shadowed throne, believed this darkness was his triumph, the moment when the light of the world would be extinguished. But Michael and Uriel knew better. Their presence was a silent rebuke to hell's arrogance, a reminder that this darkness was not the end measure of time, not the absence of light, but the presence of a power far greater than any force of the enemy. It was a sign, a marker, a declaration that the spiritual world was in upheaval. It was not a random event, but a divine signal that the heavens were active, that the cross was more than a place of suffering. It was a battlefield where eternity hung in the balance. Michael's role was to stand as a wall, ensuring no demonic force could interfere with the sacred exchange unfolding below. His sword, though sheathed, was a symbol of heaven's authority, a warning to the powers of darkness that this moment was untouchable. Uriel, burning with the light of divine wisdom, held the secrets of this moment in his gaze, his presence a beacon that illuminated the truth. What seemed like defeat was, in truth, the beginning of redemption. The darkness was not a sign of loss, but of victory veiled, a victory that would soon tear the fabric of death itself. The rhythm of their lives, the lives of these celestial beings, was one of vigilance. And in this moment, their focus was absolute, their silence a testament to the gravity of what unfolded. But here, in the spiritual plane, the air feels different, charged with a weight that presses against your senses, not with violence, but with purpose. His presence was not one of aggression, but of restraint, his strength held in check by a command older than the stars. Beside him, Uriel, the flame of God, burned with a radiance that seemed to pierce the darkness, his eyes fixed on the cross below, seeing not just a man in suffering, but the unfolding of a divine scroll, a plan written before the foundations of the earth. Together, they guarded a mystery that even the angels could only partially comprehend, a mystery that centered on the one who hung in the balance between life and death, between heaven and earth. The sky, darkened at noon, is no mere absence of light. It is a curtain drawn across the heavens, a veil that hides a mystery older than time itself. This is not a storm or a shadow of clouds, but a spiritual siege, a moment when the boundary between earth and eternity trembles. The Bible tells us that from the 6th hour to the 9th midday to mid-afternoon, the sun ceased to shine, and darkness cloaked the land. Michael, the archangel of war, stood like a sentinel, his form a towering cascade of light and fire, his sword glowing softly with divine inscriptions. What was this darkness? It was not merely the absence of light, but the presence of a spiritual reality. Imagine yourself standing in that unseen plane, feeling the air hum with divine tension. The mystery of this darkened sky lies in its purpose. As you linger in this unseen realm, imagine the rhythm of their lives, the angels' lives beating in time with the heart of the one on the cross. This darkened sky was no mere phenomenon, but a mystery that hid a divine strategy, guarded by angels and feared by hell. Social contrasting daily life. The crowd at the cross. Imagine yourself back on the hill of Golgotha, standing among the crowd gathered beneath the crosses. The air is thick with the scent of dust and sweat, tinged with the faint metallic tang of blood. The sun, hidden behind that unnatural darkness, casts no warmth, leaving the hill cloaked in a heavy stillness. Around you, the rhythm of daily life in Jerusalem has paused, drawn to this stark moment. Some are locals, their tunics stained with the dust of the marketplace, their voices sharp with scorn as they jeer, their words cutting through the air like flung stones. The soldiers live for Rome, their days measured by marches and commands. You hear the soldiers' low grumble, the mourners' quiet sobs, the onlookers' restless murmurs. To see what Michael and Uriel saw, we must return to the unseen realm where a command was given, a command that changed eternity. But you also sense something more, something the others cannot hum in the air, a presence just beyond the veil. The angels are here, unseen but unshakable, their lives bound to the will of the one who hangs on the cross. Michael's strength holds the line, ensuring no force of hell can disrupt this sacred moment. Uriel's light pierces the darkness, illuminating a truth that will echo through time. The crowd below may not know it, but they stand at the hinge of history, where the ordinary and the eternal collide. The mourners live for love, their hearts tied to the man who spoke of a kingdom not of this world. The onlookers live for the moment, caught in the current of curiosity or contempt. Yet none of them can see the true rhythm of this moment, the rhythm of heaven itself, where Michael and Uriel stand as guardians of a divine plan. The darkness above is not just a shadow to them. It is a battlefield, a place where the sins of the world are being weighed, where a covenant is being sealed in silence. Others are travelers, pausing on their way to the temple, their baskets of figs or cloth forgotten as they watch. To them, this is a moment of intrigue, a story to tell later over a shared meal. They don't know the man on the cross, not really, but they've heard the rumors of Frobel, a man who claimed to be a king. They shake their heads, some in pity, some in judgment, unaware that above them Michael stands like a pillar of fire, his sword a silent warning to unseen forces. Uriel, burning with divine light, watches not the crowd, but the one who hangs. His presence, a testament to a truth these onlookers cannot yet see. The people here are a tapestry of contrasts, soldiers, mourners, passers-by, caught in their own thoughts, unaware of the celestial drama unfolding just beyond their sight. Their lives, so ordinary in their struggles, now brush against the edge of eternity. Picture the Roman soldiers first, their armor glinting faintly in the dim light, their faces hardened by years of duty. They stand close to the crosses, their sandals crunching on the rocky ground, their voices low and clipped as they exchange orders. To them, this is just another execution, another day under the Judean sun. They've nailed men to crosses before, heard the cries, seen the crowds, but today something feels different. The darkness unsettles them, though they'd never admit it. One soldier, younger than the rest, shifts uneasily, his spear heavy in his hand. He glances at the man on the central cross, his breath slowing as he notices the calm in Jesus' eyes, a calm that defies the pain. These men live by the rhythm of empire orders, discipline, control, yet here they stand on the edge of something they cannot grasp. Something that makes the air feel heavier, as if the heavens are watching. Now, shift your gaze to the mourners. A small cluster of women and men standing closer to the cross, their faces etched with sorrow. Among them is a woman wrapped in a dark shawl, her eyes red from tears, her hands clutching the folds of her garment as if to steady herself. This is Mary, the mother of Jesus, her heart breaking with every labored breath her son takes. Beside her stands another, perhaps John, his shoulders slumped but his presence steady, a silent promise to stay until the end. Their lives are woven with love for this man, this teacher, this promised one. They've walked with him through dusty villages, heard his words, seen his miracles. Now they stand in the shadow of loss, their prayers a quiet murmur, like a stream flowing beneath the noise of the crowd. They cannot see the angels above, but they feel something await, a hope, a whisper that this suffering is not the end. Then there are the onlookers, the curious and the indifferent. drawn from Jerusalem's bustling streets to this grim spectacle. The contrast between these groups is stark. Yet they share one thing. They are all bound to the rhythm of their lives, lives shaped by labor, faith, or duty. Imagine yourself among them, feeling the press of the crowd, the weight of the air, the faint tremor of the earth beneath your feet. The lives at the foot of the cross soldiers, mourners, onlookers were bound by their own rhythms, yet touched by a moment they could not fully understand. Biography, event. The invisible command, imagine yourself suspended once more in the unseen realm, just above the darkened hill of Golgotha. The air here is not heavy with the dust of earth, but alive with a subtle pulse, a rhythm that resonates with divine purpose. The Bible records that Jesus cried out, "Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, my God, why have you forsaken me?" The words echo across the hill, a raw expression of human suffering that silences the crowd below. His role was not to strike or to fight, to enforce, to stand as an unyielding barrier between the cross and the forces of hell. Picture him, his armor shimmering like molten starlight, his sword a silent testament to divine authority. Below, the crowd heard only the cry of a suffering man, but above, the heavens stood to attention. The cross below is a stark silhouette, but above, Michael and Uriel stand as pillars of light and fire, their lives bound to the rhythm of redemption. To understand what happened next, we must follow Jesus beyond the cross into the depths of the unseen, where Michael and Uriel witnessed a triumph unlike any other. The darkness is heavy, but it is not the end. It is a canvas for a victory that is already unfolding, a victory that will soon tear the veil between God and man. The air in the spiritual realm hummed with purpose, as if the stars themselves were aligning to the will of the one on the cross. The demonic forces, sensing the shift, began to retreat, their shadows shrinking from the hill. They could not comprehend a power that chose suffering, a victory won through silence. But Michael and Uriel understood. Their presence was a testament to the truth that even in the darkest moment, heaven was moving, guarding, enforcing a plan that no force could stop. The demonic powers gathered in the shadows of the spiritual realm felt the weight of his presence. Their whispers, once bold with anticipation, faltered. They had expected chaos, resistance, a battle they could exploit. But Michael's stillness was more terrifying than any charge. He was guarding a transactional legal exchange where the sins of the world were placed upon Jesus, a covenant sealed in blood that no force of darkness could undo. His sword, though unmoving, was a declaration. This moment belongs to heaven. But in the unseen realm, these words are more than a cry of anguish. His presence was not one of war, but of revelation. As Jesus cried out, Uriel's light flared, illuminating the spiritual realm with a clarity that burned away deception. He was the guardian of the truth unfolding on the cross, ensuring that its meaning would not be lost to time or twisted by the enemy. Imagine his form, radiant as a sunrise, his eyes seeing not just the cross, but the scroll of redemption, its seals breaking one by one as Jesus' sacrifice fulfilled the promises of God. Uriel's light was a ripple, a wave that would carry the truth of this moment across centuries, touching hearts yet unborn, awakening minds in distant lands. The rhythm of his life was one of unveiling, and in this moment he ensured that the cross would shine as a beacon through the ages. They are a signal, a summons, a declaration that reverberates through the spiritual plane like a stone dropped into still water. The air trembles, not with sound, but with authority. Michael, the Archangel of war, stands taller, his form a cascade of light and fire. His sword gripped tighter, its glow intensifying as if responding to an unseen command. His radiance cutting through the spiritual darkness like a beacon, his eyes locked on the one who hangs below. Below, the physical world is caught in a moment of anguish, the creak of crosses, the muffled sobs of mourners, the low mutter of soldiers keeping watch. The sky remains cloaked in that unnatural darkness, a heavy veil that seems to press against the world. But here, in the spiritual plane, the scene is charged with a different kind of energy, one that hums with the weight of eternity. At the center of it all is Jesus, his body broken, but his spirit unbroken, his voice about to pierce the silence with a power that no darkness can contain. In this moment, as the hours of darkness stretch on, something shifts. This cry was not a plea of defeat, but a divine whisper, an invisible command that only the heavens could hear. Imagine it a message not carried by wind or voice, but by the authority of the eternal Son, moving through the spiritual realm with the force of creation itself. The command was simple, yet profound. Hold the line, guard what is mine. A charge to Michael and Uriel to stand firm in their roles. The cross was not just a place of suffering. It was a throne, a place where the King of Glory issued orders even as his body bled. The rhythm of their lives, the lives of these celestial beings, was one of absolute obedience. And in this moment, they moved in perfect alignment with the will of the one they served. Michael, heaven's warrior, responded with the precision of a general. Uriel, the keeper of divine mysteries, had a different role. The invisible command was not a shout, not a spectacle, but a whisper of power that changed the course of eternity. Imagine yourself in that unseen realm, feeling the pulse of divine authority. the weight of a command that needs no volume to shake the heavens. This invisible command was the turning point, a moment when heaven's plan moved forward with unshakable certainty. Mystery, the tearing of the veil. Imagine yourself standing once more in the unseen realm, hovering above the darkened hill of Golgotha, where the air pulses with a quiet intensity, a rhythm that speaks of divine purpose. Below, the physical world is heavy with the weight of the moment dust clings to the air. The crosses creak under their burden. The veil itself is no ordinary curtain. It is a massive, heavy tapestry woven with threads of blue, purple, and scarlet. Its surface embroidered with cherubim, symbols of God's presence. His role is one of revelation, ensuring that the truth of the torn veil is not lost, but shines across time. The tearing of the veil is not a random act, but a divine signal that the sacrifice on the cross has succeeded. The Holy of Holies, once hidden, is now accessible, not through the blood of lambs, but through the blood of the Lamb. To understand what followed, we must follow Jesus beyond the cross, into the depths where Michael and Uriel bore witness to a triumph unlike any other. The demonic forces lurking in the shadows of the unseen plane feel the shift. Their whispers falter, their presence retreating further from the hill and the temple. They had thought the cross was their victory, but this tearing, this quiet, unshakable act reveals their error. The rhythm of their lives, built on deception and division, cannot withstand the light of this moment. Lucifer, watching from his shadowed throne, senses the ground slipping beneath him, though he cannot yet grasp the full scope of his defeat. Imagine his light, not harsh or blinding, but warm and piercing, illuminating the mystery of what this moment means. The veil's tearing is not just a physical act. It is the opening of a bridge, a pathway where humanity can now approach the presence of God without fear. Uriel's gaze, fixed on the cross, and now on the temple, sees the scroll of redemption unfurling. Its promises fulfilled as the separation between God and man is undone. His light carries this truth forward, a ripple that will touch hearts in Jerusalem, in Rome, in nations yet to be born. This veil hangs before the Holy of Holies, the sacred space where the Ark of the Covenant once rested, where only the high priest could enter once a year, and only with blood. The air around it is thick with reverence, with the weight of centuries of separation between a holy God and a broken humanity. The darkness that cloaks Golgotha begins to lift, not in the spiritual plane, where Michael and Uriel stand as witnesses to a victory unfolding. The temple below, with its torn veil, is no longer a place of separation, but a symbol of access, of a covenant renewed. The rhythm of their lives, the lives of these angels, is one of obedience and awe, as they watch the plan of God unfold with a precision that no force can disrupt. The torn veil is a promise, a whisper of hope, that what was once distant is now near, that what was broken is now being made whole. But in this moment, as Jesus' final breath escapes, the veil splits, not with violence, but with a deliberate, almost silent grace, as if the heavens themselves have reached down to tear it apart. And the crowd stands in a hush, their voices stilled by the darkness that cloaks the sky. But now, shift your gaze not to the hill, but to Jerusalem's heart, to the temple where a mystery unfolds, unseen by most, yet felt across the spiritual plane. The moment Jesus breathes his last, a sound ripples through the city, not a thunderclap, but a tear, a rending of fabric that carries the weight of eternity. The veil in the temple, the barrier between God and man, is torn from top to bottom. Picture the temple, its white stone walls gleaming faintly, even in the unnatural darkness, its courts filled with the scent of incense and the low chant of priests. In the unseen realm, this is no mere physical event. The tearing of the veil is a spiritual earthquake, a moment when the boundaries of eternity shift. Michael, the Archangel of war, stands in the spiritual plane, his form radiant with fire and light, his sword still held at the ready. His role in this moment is not to act, but to witness, to stand as a guardian of the divine order now unfolding. The veil, long reinforced by angelic sentries who guarded the separation between God and man, no longer requires their protection. Michael's presence is a declaration that this tearing is lawful, ordained a fulfillment of the covenant sealed on the cross. The rhythm of his life, bound to heaven's commands, beats in time with this moment, his silence a testament to the power of what has just occurred. Uriel, the flame of God, burns brighter in this instant, his radiance like a sunrise breaking through the spiritual darkness. In the spiritual realm, the air hums with the weight of this mystery. Imagine yourself in this unseen realm, feeling the air vibrate with the tearing of the veil, a soundless rupture that echoes through eternity. The tearing of the veil was a mystery that reshaped the spiritual world, a moment guarded by angels and feared by hell. Event: the descent into Sheol. Imagine yourself no longer above the hill of Golgotha, but descending, drawn into a realm beyond the physical, where the air is not warmed by the sun, but hums with an ancient, unseen energy. The physical world above is still, the crosses stand silent. The crowd dispersed, the body of Jesus hanging lifeless in the fading darkness. Picture it as a vast, silent expanse, its air heavy with the weight of ages, its boundaries marked by gates older than the mountains. His form, still bearing the scars of the cross, radiates with an authority that makes the air tremble. These are not gates of wood or iron, but of spiritual authority, barriers that have held souls captive for centuries. As Jesus approaches, the air grows heavier, the shadows retreating further into the darkness. He does not knock or plead. They had thought the cross was their victory, but now their realm is invaded, not by an army, but by a single king whose authority needs no weapon. The shadows of Sheol are no match for the light of the one who walks, nor for the presence of Michael and Uriel, who stand as witnesses to a victory that began not in a tomb, but here in the heart of death. The rhythm of their lives, the lives of these angels, is one of awe and obedience as they watch the King reclaim what was lost. The gates of Sheol stand open, the chains are broken, and the righteous begin to rise, their souls stirring with a promise of glory. Lucifer, sensing the shift, feels his throne of shadows quake. To understand the lives touched by this triumph, we must return to the world above, to the daily rhythms of those who lived in its shadow. The air in Sheol grows tense, not with chaos, but with the quiet certainty of defeat. Jesus stretches out his hand, and keys appear not forged in fire, but etched with eternity. These are the keys to death, to the grave, to every prison of the soul. With a word, he claims them, and the rhythm of heaven's plan moves forward, unbroken, unshakable. He speaks a single word, now the gates groan, not with the sound of metal, but with the breaking of spiritual chains. The psalmist's words echo in this moment. Lift up your heads, O your gates, and be lifted up, you everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in. The gates do not resist, they cannot. The authority of the one who walks is absolute. The weight of human sin, carried from Golgotha, clings to him, yet it cannot dim the light of his divine nature. They sense the presence of the promised one, the Lamb foretold. Uriel's light flares, not with blinding force, but with a gentle radiance that reveals the truth of this moment. He unveils a scroll of light, its words written before time, carrying the promises of redemption now fulfilled. The righteous see it, their hearts rising as they recognize the one who has come to lead them home. Michael, standing as heaven's witness, ensures that this moment is lawful, untouchable. His sword, though still, is a declaration that the keys to death and the grave are being claimed, not by force, but by right. Behind him, Michael walks, his armor pulsing with celestial fire. His sword sheathed but ready, a silent enforcer of heaven's will. His presence is a wall, ensuring no force of darkness can challenge the one who leads. Uriel, burning with the light of divine revelation, follows closely, his radiance like a torch in this shadowed expanse, illuminating truths hidden since the dawn of time. The rhythm of their lives bound to the eternal will of God, beats in time with this moment. A moment when death itself is about to bow. The righteous rest in a place of peace, often called Abraham's bosom, while the wicked linger in torment, separated by a chasm no soul can cross. The air here is not filled with a scent of dust or cedar, but with a stillness that feels like the pause before a storm. Shadows move in the distance, faint whispers of ancient rebellion, but they grow silent as a new presence enters, a presence that does not belong, yet commands all. But here, in the spiritual plane, a journey begins, one that pierces the veil of death itself. The ground beneath Golgotha seems to open, not with a quake, but with a quiet shift, as if the earth itself acknowledges the passage of the one who shaped it. Jesus, the sinless Lamb, is descending into Sheol, and he is not alone. Michael, the Archangel of war, and Uriel, the flame of God, follow not to protect, but to witness a triumph that shakes the foundations of eternity. Sheol, in the ancient Hebrew understanding, is not the fiery hell of later imaginings, but a shadowed realm, a place of waiting where the souls of the dead reside. Jesus steps into Sheol not as a victim, but as a king. Imagine the gates of Sheol, ancient and unyielding, their surfaces etched with the marks of rebellion, forged in the fall of angels long ago. In this shadowed realm, the souls of the righteous Abraham, Moses, David, and countless others stir in their place of rest. The demonic forces in Sheol, the fallen watchers and ancient rebels, tremble in the shadows. Imagine yourself in this unseen realm, feeling the air hum with the weight of this triumph. This descent into Sheol was not a defeat, but a conquest, a moment when the King of Glory walked through death's gates and claimed victory from within. Social elite contrasting daily life. The priests and Pharisees at the crucifixion. Imagine yourself standing in the heart of Jerusalem, away from the barren hill of Golgotha, their faces stern beneath their ornate headdresses. Imagine the Pharisees, the priests and Pharisees, for all their learning, cannot see the celestial drama unfolding just beyond their sight. They see a man dying, a thread eliminated, a veil torn, but they cannot see the spiritual reality. That the cross is a throne, that the torn veil is a bridge, that the darkness is not defeat, but divine strategy. To understand the full scope of what Michael and Uriel witnessed. Above, Michael and Uriel see it all, the unfolding of a plan written before the stars, the breaking of chains that held humanity captive, the triumph of a king who chose suffering to reclaim what was lost. The priests and Pharisees, for all their knowledge, stand on the edge of this moment, unaware of the angels who guard it, unaware of the light that pierces the darkness they fear. Michael, the archangel of war, stands like a pillar of fire, his armor shimmering with the light of divine authority. Sword, a silent reminder that this moment is guarded by heaven's might. Uriel, the flame of God, burns with a radiance that illuminates the spiritual plane, his presence ensuring that the truth of the cross will not be lost to time. The rhythm of their lives, the lives of these angels, is not bound to ritual or debate, but to the eternal will of the one who hung on the cross. While the priests clutch at tradition and the Pharisees cling to control, the angels stand in awe, witnessing a victory that transcends the law and reshapes eternity. Men of learning and authority, their robes adorned with tassels that signify their devotion to the Torah. The priests move through their rituals, the Pharisees through their arguments, yet both are touched by a moment they cannot fully comprehend. The torn veil, the darkened sky, the trembling earth, these are not accidents, but signs of a victory unfolding, guarded by angels whose lives beat in time with the heart of the one on the cross. The rhythm of their lives, the lives of the elite, continues, but it is forever changed, whether they know it or not. They stand not in the temple, but closer to Golgotha, perhaps among the onlookers. Their eyes narrowed as they watch the man on the cross. To them, Jesus is a threat, a teacher who challenged their traditions, who spoke of a kingdom that seemed to bypass their authority. Their lives are built on the rhythm of debate and doctrine, of ensuring that every law is followed, every ritual observed. Yet, as the sky darkens and the earth trembles, even they feel a tremor of doubt. The man they condemned hangs dying, yet the air feels heavy with something more than death, a presence, a shift, a mystery they cannot grasp. Some scoff, their voices sharp like the crack of a whip, dismissing the signs as mere coincidence. Others, perhaps, pause, their minds wrestling with the prophecies they've studied for years, wondering if this moment holds more than they anticipated. Standing in the temple's inner courts, their hands, accustomed to offering sacrifices and sprinkling blood on the altar, are still for once, their eyes glancing toward the darkened sky, the tearing of the veil, a heavy curtain embroidered with cherubim, has just occurred, a sound like a whisper of eternity, felt more than heard. To them, this is not just a physical rupture, but a breach in the sacred order they've spent their lives upholding. The Holy of Holies, the dwelling place of God's presence, is now exposed, its sanctity laid bare. Some priests murmur in confusion, their voices low and urgent, while others stand in silence. Their hearts stirred by fear they cannot name. The rhythm of their lives bound to ritual, to the law, to the careful separation of holy and commonies, unraveling, and they sense it, though they cannot see the full scope of what has happened, where the air carries the scent of incense and polished stone, rather than dust and sorrow. The temple looms before you, its white walls catching the faint glow of torches in the unnatural darkness that cloaks the city. The rhythm of daily life here is one of ritual and precision, a cadence set by the priests and Pharisees, the religious elite who guard the traditions of Israel. Their robes, woven with fine linen and dyed in hues of blue and purple, brush against the smooth stone floors as they move through the temple courts. The air is thick with the fragrance of burning myrrh and the low chant of prayers, a constant reminder of their role as mediators between God and His people. Yet, today, that rhythm falters, disrupted by the events unfolding on a hill just outside the city walls. Picture the priests now contrast their world with the unseen realm above Golgotha, where Michael and Uriel stand watch. The contrast is stark. Below, the religious elite are caught in the rhythm of their lives of duty, pride, and certainty. Yet, they are blind to the greater truth. Imagine yourself standing between these worlds, feeling the weight of the temple's incense-laden air and the pulse of the unseen realm above. The priests and Pharisees stood at the edge of eternity, their lives shaped by tradition, yet touched by a mystery they could not see. Mystery, the words that shook eternity. Imagine yourself once more in the unseen realm, hovering above the hill of Golgotha, where the air is alive with a quiet intensity, a pulse that resonates with the rhythm of divine purpose. Below, the physical world is heavy with the weight of finality. The crosses stand stark against the darkened sky. The crowd's murmurs have softened, and the man at the center, Jesus, draws his final breaths. The soldiers, their armor clinking softly, pause, their faces unreadable, but their eyes flickering with unease. His sword, etched with the names of God, glows brighter in this moment, raised not to strike, but to salute the triumph unfolding below. His role is one of revelation, and in this moment, he seals the truth of Jesus' words. Imagine his form glowing with the warmth of divine wisdom. His eyes seeing not just the cross, but the unfolding of a mystery that will echo through generations. As Jesus declares, "It is finished," Uriel's light flares, not with blinding force, but with a gentle brilliance that illuminates the scroll of redemption. To understand the lives touched by this victory, we must look to the daily rhythms of those who lived in its shadow. those who carried the light of this moment forward. This scroll, carried in the heart of heaven, contains every prophecy, every promise, every step of the divine plan now fulfilled. Uriel ensures that this truth is not lost, that it will ripple across time, awakening hearts in distant lands. From Jerusalem to the ends of the earth. His role has been to guard the sacred transaction of the cross, to ensure no force of hell could disrupt the covenant sealed in blood. The demonic forces lurking in the shadows of the unseen plain shrank back, their whispers silenced by the weight of this moment. Lucifer, watching from his throne of shadows, feels the ground tremble beneath him, his plans unraveling in the face of a victory he could not foresee. The air in the spiritual realm grows still, not with fear, but with reverence, as if the heavens themselves pause to honor the one who has completed the work. The cross, once a symbol of shame, is now a throne, and the words, "It is finished," are its coronation. Now, as Jesus speaks, Michael's presence is a declaration that the victory is complete, that the authority of heaven has prevailed. The darkness above Golgotha begins to lift, not in the physical sky, but in the spiritual plane, where Michael and Uriel stand as witnesses to a triumph that transcends death. The rhythm of their lives, the lives of these angels, is one of eternal alignment with the will of God. And in this moment, they see the plan fulfilled. The covenant is sealed, the debt is paid, and the way to the Father is open. The words, "It is finished," are not the end, but the beginning. A declaration that the victory won on the cross will echo through eternity, a mystery guarded by angels and feared by hell. The rhythm of his life, bound to the will of the one on the cross, beats in time with these words, a rhythm of obedience and awe that resonates through the spiritual plane. The mourners, gathered close, weep quietly, their hearts breaking yet clinging to a hope they cannot name. The onlookers, scattered across the hill, murmur in confusion or indifference, unaware of the weight these words carry. But in the unseen realm, where Michael and Uriel stand watch, these three words are a thunderclap, a signal that the scroll of redemption, written before the stars were formed, has reached its culmination. The air vibrates, not with chaos, but with order, as if the universe itself has aligned to this moment. The scent of dust and cedar lingers faintly, but here, in the spiritual plane, the air hums with a different energy, one that carries the weight of eternity. In this moment, as the darkness begins to lift, Jesus speaks three words that echo beyond the hill, beyond time itself. It is finished. These words are not a whisper of defeat, but a declaration that shakes the heavens and the depths, a mystery sealed by divine authority. Picture the scene below, where the crowd hears these words as the final utterance of a dying man. Michael, the archangel of war, stands like a pillar of celestial fire, his armor shimmering with hues that shift like the night sky. Uriel, the flame of God, burns with a radiance that seems to pierce the fading darkness, his light like a sunrise spilling across the unseen realm. In the spiritual realm, these words are more than a statement. They are a decree, a legal pronouncement that shifts the balance of eternity. Imagine yourself standing in this unseen realm, feeling the air hum with the power of these words. The words, "It is finished," were a mystery that sealed the triumph of the cross, a moment when heaven stood to attention and hell trembled. Social contrasting daily life. The early believers and the light of the cross. Imagine yourself standing in Jerusalem, not on the hill of Golgotha, but in the quiet days that follow, as the city begins to stir from the shadow of that darkened noon. The air is thick with the scent of barley bread and dried figs, shared among a handful of men and women seated on woven mats. There's Mary Magdalene, her eyes bright with a quiet resolve, her hands still as she recalls the moment she saw the risen Lord. The air is alive with a quiet energy, not of fear, but of anticipation, as if they can sense the unseen forces that guarded the cross. And in those words, a new rhythm began, a rhythm of hope, of freedom, of a world reclaimed. And as you rest in this moment, know that the same light that guided those early believers, the same power that Michael and Uriel guarded, is with you now, a quiet promise that carries you into peace. Michael and Uriel, though invisible to these believers, played their part in this moment. Michael, with his sword of divine authority, ensured that the victory of the cross was sealed, untouchable by the forces of hell. Uriel, with his radiant light, carried the truth of that victory forward, a truth that now burns in the hearts of these men and women. The rhythm of their lives, the lives of these early believers, one of faith, of carrying a message that will spread like wildfire from Jerusalem to the ends of the earth. Beside her sits John, his voice soft but steady as he recounts the words Jesus spoke from the cross. Others are here, 2 fishermen, tax collectors, widows' people whose lives were once defined by the daily grind of survival, now bound together by a hope that defies death. Their conversations are hushed, not out of fear, but out of awe, as they speak of the empty tomb, the torn veil, and the promise of a kingdom that is not of this world. The air carries the familiar sense of baked bread and sun-warmed stone, mingled with the faint temps of myrrh from the temple's offerings. In the days before the crucifixion, they walked with Jesus through dusty villages, their sandals worn from miles of travel, their hearts stirred by his teachings. Now, they live in the shadow of the cross, their daily rhythms reshaped by the truth they carry. They rise with the dawn to pray, their voices blending in quiet petitions for strength and guidance. They break bread together, not just to eat, but to remember the one who broke his body for them. The Pharisees cannot see the angels above, nor the light that guides their steps. The rhythm of their lives, once bound to the law and its burdens, is now set to a new cadence, one of grace and hope, a rhythm that echoes the triumph of the cross. The rhythm of daily life resumes. Merchants call out in the marketplace, their voices rising over the clatter of carts. Children weave through the crowds, their laughter a fleeting melody, and priests move through the temple courts, their robes brushing against the stones. Yet something has changed. The torn veil, the trembling earth, the words, "It is finished," linger in the minds of a few. A small group of men and women whose lives have been touched by the one who hung on the cross. These are the early believers, ordinary people whose daily rhythms are now shaped by an extraordinary truth. Picture a small gathering in a modest home, its walls of rough-hewn stone lit by the warm glow of oil lamps. Their lives are simple, yet profoundly changed. Imagine yourself sitting among them, feeling the warmth of the lamplit room, the weight of their words settling like a gentle breeze in your heart. The music softens, a gentle hum like the rustle of leaves under a starlit sky. It is finished, Jesus said. Conclusion. As we draw this journey to a close, imagine yourself stepping back from the hill of Golgotha, from the shadowed streets of Jerusalem, from the unseen realms where angels stood watch. The air around you soften, no longer thick with the dust of a distant city or the hum of celestial energy. It was a divine strategy, a plan written before the stars were formed, guarded by angels whose lives beat in time with the heart of the one on the cross. Michael, with his sword of fire, stood as a sentinel, ensuring no force of darkness could disrupt the covenant sealed in blood. The cries of Golgotha have faded, the darkness has lifted, and the triumph of the cross endures. If this story stirred your heart or brought you peace, consider sharing it with someone who needs to hear it. Here at Mr. N Bible, we'll continue to uncover the hidden truths of Scripture, the mysteries that draw us closer to eternity. For now, rest well, knowing that the light of the cross shines on, guarded by angels, sealed by love, and alive in you. Good night. Michael and Uriel, with their fire and light, stood witness to a moment that reshaped eternity, and that moment lives on in you. Close your eyes, if you haven't already, and let the rhythm of this truth carry you toward sleep. The world of Jerusalem, with its dust and stone, its priests and soldiers, its angels and mysteries. It's far away, but its promise is near. You are not alone. Heaven is still moving, still guarding, still whispering hope into the quiet of your heart. Uriel, burning with the light of revelation, carried the truth of that moment across time, illuminating hearts from Jerusalem to the ends of the earth. Their presence, unseen but unshakable, reminds us that even in the darkest moments when the sky turns black, when hope seems lost, heaven is still moving. The rhythm of their lives, the rhythm of eternity, is one of purpose, of obedience, of a love so profound it chose suffering to reclaim what was lost. But warm and familiar, like the comfort of your own space, your own breath. The story of the cross, of Michael and Uriel, of a victory won in silence, lingers like a gentle echo, a reminder of a moment that changed eternity. You've walked through the streets of Jerusalem, stood beneath the darkened sky, felt the pulse of a spiritual war, and witnessed the triumph of a king who conquered death itself. Now, as the music carries you forward, let's reflect on what it all means. Not just for that ancient hill, but for you, here in this quiet moment. The crucifixion was no ordinary moment. Now, picture yourself in the present, far from the dust and sorrow of Golgotha. The world around you are soft, quiet, perhaps lit by the gentle glow of a lamp or the faint shimmer of starlight through a window. The weight of that ancient hill is gone, replaced by the comfort of your own space, the steady rhythm of your own breath. The cross, the torn veil, the keys of death claimed by Jesus, these are not just stories of the past, but promises for today. They tell you that even in your lowest moments, when your strength falters or your prayers feel unanswered, heaven is still at work. Angels stand guard, not just over a hill in Jerusalem, but over the unfolding of God's plan in your life. The victory won on the cross is yours, a light that pierces every darkness, a truth that no shadow can extinguish. As you rest now, let the story settle over you like a warm blanket. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the unseen realms of the cross.